Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem. So now we're going back to Pasuk Het in Perek Dalet. We finished last shiur the Perek with the Pirush of the Gaon Mivilna, right? And we're going back to learn it, or turn from Pasuk Het on, according to the Malbim, because there was quite a tangent between the two Pirushim. So we know that according to the Malbim, we are exalting and experiencing this amazing relationship Shlomo HaMelech was able to create between the neshama and the body, and holding on to a very high level of ruhaniyut, of spirituality and prophecy. And in the last psukim, when we're talking about Shnei Shadayach Kishnei Ofarim, Taumet Seviyah, we said that Shlomo HaMelech is basically saying how the Givat HaLevona, talking about the Bet HaMikdash, right? How we brought down that level to a level that is more physical. Recall? Yeah, through the Avodat Bet HaMikdash, the Korbanot, the Menachot, like we said. And he calls the neshama kulach yafa ra'yati u'muenbach. Again, you are beautiful. You are beautiful. Kulach yafa. Your entireness, your fullness is beautiful. Kulach yafa ra'yati, my beloved one. Meaning that it's not. You are not just beautiful from an intellectual or a spiritual level. You are beautiful in your as a whole, in your whole. Meaning that now the fact that you're able to take this experience, this connection from something spiritual and bring it down to something practical, emotional, right, makes you kullach yafa umumenbach. And the reason why I don't see any mumim, any problems, any deformation or weaknesses within you is because of this effort that you worked on to be able to bring this experience and this connection from a spiritual level that is not emotional to an emotional level. And he continues, Pasuk Het, iti mi Lebanon kala. Iti, come with me, you are with me. We are now one, iti, we are together. Mi Lebanon. So according to the Gaon Mivilna, mi Lebanon, if you remember, we talked about Mitzrayim, right? About Egypt. Here the Malbim wants to say, mi Lebanon, Lebanon comes from the word Malbin. Malbin is to cleanse, to clean up, from the word Lavan. So he says, iti mi Lebanon, you are with me because of your cleansing process. And you became kala, my kala. And he tells basically the praising is that the more you take something that's theoretical and spiritual and bringing it down into your essence, and the more you be purifying yourself automatically. So the more you look for an emotional connection, and through that focus of wanting to build an emotional connection, you're actually cleaning all the layers of limitations, the layers of distractions that are bothering you. So here, it's an indirect way of dealing with a problem, right? You can actually deal with a problem by facing it and tackling the problem. Or here, Shlomo HaMelech said, you know how you were Malbin? You know how you cleaned up your entire self? By bringing down that experience. And that's why we say, Va'ashevota el levavecha. Va'ashevota el levavecha. The avodah, to take something to your heart, to feel it, to experience it emotionally, to tag it emotionally, has a byproduct, an effect, a side effect which cleans the person from his own weaknesses. And that's what makes it kala. That's what makes the union and the harmony between the marriage between the neshama and the body. Iti mi Levanon tavoi, right? Now, tavoi, come with me. This is how we can build up that intimacy, not just, again, from a place of spirituality, but from a place of emotions. Tavoi, through that cleansing. Tashuri merosh amana, right? You walked from the heart of amana, which is this how you know how you were able to learn, says the Malbim, how to connect emotionally to the spiritual connection through your emuna. Something amazing. Meaning, the more you're in touch with the impact your emuna has, the more you develop your emunah, and the more you develop an emotional connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How is that? Because what is the emunah? It's trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? It's when you see the hand of Hashem in front of you. You see that He's protecting you. You see that He's there for you, right? In the Bet HaMikdash, the emunah was built on the Nisim, on all types of crazy miracles, right? But the emunah a person builds is an emunah that connects the person on an emotional level to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what the emunah soothes and comforts, right? So says Shalom HaMelech, Merosh Amana, from the heart, from the mount of Amana, from the mount of emunah, you were able to build this emotional connection. Merosh Senir veHirmon. And he says, this is the Senir and Hermon, Harare ad shesham ifli Hashem pelaot veotot. He says, this is another level of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the more, he says, the more you develop, you look for the emunah, and the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself in an outstanding way. So a person wants to see miracles. Well, build your emunah. The more you build your emunah, the more you will see clear miracles. Yesterday, I was with someone who has emunah, but not so religious. And he told me, he said, listen, in his own industries, in the film industry, he told me, look, it's crazy. Usually it takes 6 months from the inception of a project all the way to the selling or it hits the Netflix or whatever it is. He's like, I was in a place of complete discomfort. I just had separated myself from a family business. I'm on my own. I'm vulnerable. I'm starting from scratch. It's like within 2 weeks, I had this show on air, and I made the most from all the shows ever. And he told me, he says, you know what? I see the hand of Hashem. This is miracles. These are miracles. It's incredible how things. And what was very beautiful for me to learn is that the definition of a nes is different to everyone. People think a miracle is when Hashem comes and turns a frog into a monkey. No, a miracle is when you can see the alignment of events that is so perfect, okay, that it defies your mundane expectations of things to happen. This is a definition of a nes. So says the Malbim, it's incredible. He says the more you have emunah, and the more things align in front of you, which will defy your own expectation of the way things should happen. And the more you see it, and the more you build it, and the more it happens to you. This is what Shlomo HaMelech comes and tells us. It's almost like he's giving us the secret to build nisim in our lives, to bring miracles into our lives. This is Har Senir Merosh Senir veHirmon. And he said, okay, and what? Okay, so we went from a spiritual connection. We took it down to emotional connection. You know how that happened? because of emunah. And you know what it led? This emunah led it to. It led. It's led to the more emunah you have, the more you see Hashem in your life, and the more miracles you see. And you know how you built all this. Right, from the den of lions, and from the mounts of nemerim, the leopards. Right. He says, who are the lions and who are the lepers? He says the Talmidei Chachamim. He says the lion, the Gevurah, the lion is the Gibor, right? He's the most courageous. He's the king of the animals, and the Namer has this azut, heveaz kanamer. He has this arrogance to it. We spoke about it, right? The Gaon defined Ishmael and Esav as the lions, and the rest of the Goyim, like Og Melech HaBashan, etc., as the leopards, right? Here, the Malbim wants to say something else. He says, by connecting, by building your relationship with Talmidei Chachamim, by learning by the next to the lion, and by seeing how the lion in his learning of Torah can also have this arrogance of the Namer when to protect his own Torah, right? That's what we say every morning, right? Before Hodu. So we say the Ma'amar Chazal, the Memra of Chachamim, that tells us that we have to be Gibor Kari, we have to be strong like a lion, courageous like the lion, but we also have to be arrogant like the Namer in protecting our own Torah. Says the Malbim, your connection, he says the connection, I built that emunah, I built that momentum of miracles, I built that ability to bring down something spiritual to a level of emotion because of my proximity, because of my relationship with the Talmidei Chachamim. And what did that relationship really do? Is that when you see the Talmid Chacham, when you see the learning Torah, when you see his Gevurah, you see how the Talmid Chacham is always strong to learn Torah. He defies the laws of nature to sit down and learn and grow in his Avodat Hashem. But on the other hand, when it comes to protect his Torah, protect his identity, nothing is scaring him. He can stand and fight anything and anyone. It rubs off. It rubs off, says the Malbim. Now, you go to learn from the Talmid Chacham, you go to learn from him. But you didn't only absorb information. What you also learned, subconsciously, you built Gevurah, you built strength, you built courage, and you built Azut. And you also built the strength of arrogance to a certain good arrogance, yeah. When we're talking about the right. And he says these two emotions, these two power of strength that are working together but yet separate, allow a person to bring something spiritual to an emotion. Why is that? Why do we need Gevurah and why do we need Azut in order to make a spiritual experience emotional? We know there is a contrast and there is a paradox between spirituality and physicality, right? If it wasn't for the ness of coexisting, they couldn't coexist. So when you have an emotional, a spiritual connection, okay, it's extremely, it frees you from the emotion, and it throws you into a dimension that is completely disconnected from physicality. You're on a high. Yeah, and it's like as if you're floating into a sphere that is disconnecting you from all the emotional impacts and pulls that the emotions are defined by. So it's almost as if you are in a safe area and into an experience you don't want to bring down. You want to keep it the way it is. However, if you're a gibor, somebody that's courageous and that's strong, He will not fear to disrupt his emotions and allow the emet control his emotions. Okay, something that we not every one of us want to do. We like to desire certain things. It feels good to desire certain things. I don't want to let go of the desire. How many times I have friends like that tell me, I love this, I love that. Things that are not so kosher. Like I love it. It's my thing. So it takes a lot of courage to allow Hashem to enter your bedroom, your emotions. Okay, that's the gibor and the azut and the arrogance. It's like you have to have this pride, right? So that you can change, because the moment you allow that emotion to kick in and penetrate your bedroom, your heart, your emotion, you need this pride to 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 allow that metamorphose, to allow that change to be seen. So that's what we say again, that we have to be a gibor ka'ari ve'az kanamer. ואז כנאמר וקל כנשר וגיבור כארי לעשות רצון אביך שבשמיים. Every morning we say, do you want to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's what it takes. But comes Shlomo HaMelech, according to the Malbim, and tells us, these are the ingredients that allow a person to take something, an experience that is spiritual, and turn it into an emotion. It takes gevura and it takes azut. And it doesn't turn it into gevura. Don't get me wrong. It does spirituality, when you translate it into emotion, doesn't mean it become gevura. No, you need gevura in order to translate the experience into an emotion. Then the emotion can be compassion, can be chesed, can be love, can be hate, whatever the emotion is. And that's what the Malbim is saying. And he says, also you need those emotions, because the second you try to be spiritual, there's a pushback from kochot hachaim. There's a pushback from the Yetzer Hara, right? You're disrupting something. So you need to have this level of protection within you and this strength to not let a comfort zone or an emotion that is controlling you take over your spiritual growth, right? That's exactly, going back to what we were saying earlier. If a person is stalling, the stalling is what? Is that it's a reaction to not allowing the awareness stimulate the brain with the information, and having the emotion of comfort say, well, this is not, I'm pushing back. This is not so interesting, right? So I'm not going to go out of my way. This is where the Gibor says, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm pushing through. I'm not going backwards. There's no way I'm going backwards. And this is the koach that you find in Talmidei Chachamim. That's the koach you find in tzaddikim. Doesn't matter their physical state. You see them sitting and learning and pounding, whether it's Chacham Ovadia, whether it's Rav Kaduri, whether it's Rav Steinman, whether it's Rav Eliashiv, Rav Chaim Kanievsky. You see them at very old age, and they're still sitting and pounding and learning and arguing and writing. Where does that koach come from? It's because they didn't keep their connection, their connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a spiritual level. They brought it down into their veins, into their emotions. And says the Malbim, that's what it takes to fight the heaviness of the body, to fight the comfort of the emotion, to fight the fear, to fight the laziness. This is the koach it takes if you want to pursue an emotional connection with Hashem. It takes gevura and it takes azut. Where do you get it from? By rubbing off. It rubs off from the connection with the Talmidei Chachamim. It rubs off from the connection of learning of the Torah with the Rabbanim. And this gives you also the power of emunah and the power of nisim, right? And this is what it takes.
Rav, I have a question about Nisim. Isn't the purpose of Nisim to allow us to appreciate the mundane? Isn't that the purpose of them?
Explain to me what nisim means. You're explaining what the purpose of nisim. Explain to me what do you define as a nes?
It's something that's out of natural order, right? That's above the natural way that things go. So it's Hashem's intervention in an uncommon way.
Okay.
So isn't the purpose of those to to allow us to appreciate?
Yeah, to recognize that even what is not a nes is a nes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if you understand that the definition of a nes is Hashem's intervention in your life,
and you realize that everything
and
is
it's telling you that basically even what doesn't seem like an intervention from Hashem is an intervention of Hashem in your life, right?
Yes.
So
yes. Right.
That's exactly what we're saying.
And so is the purpose to bring our attention to the fact that everything is an S?
The Ramban says that. The Ramban says a person needs to recognize that everything is a miracle. That doesn't mean that everything is a crazy, outstanding intervention of Hashem, but everything is the intervention of Hashem in your life, absolutely. And which brings us to the next step of what the Malbim wants to say. He says, the Chachamim teach us in the Zohar, in the Midrash, that man is made of all, is a microcosm of all the kochot, of all the creation of the planet. Okay? So he says, when you push an agenda, you tap into all the kochot. You tap into all the kochot from within you. You send a signal to all the aspects of creation around you and send them a signal of this is what I want. And that's why they align. And that's why Emunah brings miracles. Not because it's miracles that, like I said, out of beyond nature, but a miracle in the sense that the more I see Hashem as intervening in my life, and the more I will see him intervene in my life. That's basically what he's saying. And why is that? Because Hashem gave us triggers that can tap into every aspect of the creation. And if this is the message I emanate in creation, this is what the creation is going to send back to me. Good? So again, you emanate positivity is going to come back. You emanate emunah, Hashem will reveal himself. That's it. It's very simple. Now he says, the Sefer HaMoreh, Sefer Moreh Nevuchim, that's just when we talk about the Arayot, when we talk about the lion, and yes, the Gevurah that's in us, the courage that's in us, is the courage that Hashem took from the lion and installed in humanity, in humankind. When we have this azut, Hashem took the azut from the namer, from the leopard, and put it inside of us. Okay, and this is what the Rambam says in Sefer HaMoreh, and he says that the fire that was coming down on the korbanot to consume, right, which is the relationship between spirituality and physicality. So we in the Bet HaMikdash, we brought korbanot, right? We served Hashem from a physical perspective, angle, and Hashem revealed himself from a spiritual angle. That was the fire coming down to consume the korbanot. He says that is Gevurah. That represents Gevurah. That represents the Gevurah of the Ari. Why? He says because the Gevurah consumes the natural aspects of life that stops a person from becoming a gibor. So man has aspects within him that basically stalls his ability to be a lion, right? So the more gevura, the more courage and the more strength you bring into your behavior, and the more it consumes those layers that stops you from being a gibor. You understand what I'm saying? It's not that you by developing a gevura you become a gibor. No, you become a gibor because it consumes what stops you from becoming a gibor. Good. Libavtini pasuk tet. Libavtini ah. We're good.
Sorry, I was singing. I remember.
Libavtini ahoti kala. Libavtini. Okay. So libavtini ahoti. Okay. Ahoti kala libavtini be'ahat me'enayich. Right. I beloved you. I loved you. I connected to you. Achoti kala, my achot, my sister, my kala. Yeah, you captured my heart. You charmed me with one glance of your eyes, right? With one look, with one call of your necklace. Says the Malbim something beautiful. And now he dives into a little bit more of technicalities of how we're able to consolidate the emotional intimacy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, Libavtini comes from the word lev, right? You captured my heart, you charmed me. He says, you made me, Libavtini, he says, you turned me into a heart. That's what not that I love you. It's like you HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, the Neshama says, you turned me into an emotion. You turned me into a heart. Ahoti. And you made me achotcha, meaning you made me your sister. You made me an equal, my kala. Incredible thought. Okay, think about it. You're taking the neshama, you're taking the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and turning it into an equal emotionally. Meaning that until now, our outlook or our thought process is that we need to keep Hashem above, right? Says the Malbim, says Shlomo HaMelech, no. He says you have to take Hashem from above and bringing them so close to you that he becomes your equal. You're so connected, you're so free, you're so open that that it becomes part of you and equal to you. It said there's two ways of connecting to Hashem, intellectually and spiritually. One is through the outlook and the understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in creation, analyzing how Hashem behaves in creation. And the other one is to see how Hashem behaves within the person. Like Yov said, from my flesh I can see Hashem. Right? So you can or reveal HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the awesomeness of nature or from the awesomeness of your body. Be'ahat me'enayich, he says, all you don't need to, when you're at such a high level, you don't need to stay at come back down. And it's enough. Hashem is telling us, now I want the connection of what? Be'ahat me'enayich, for only one eye. which is the eye of your nefesh. I want to reside within you. That's be'ahad be'enayich. And he says, and where does it reside intellectually? He says we have also the sechel, we spoke about it. The intellect is broken into three levels. The intellect is broken into the practical level, into the philosophical level, into the analytical level. And we know that the analytical level,
recording in progress,
says the Malbim, when you elevate yourself, when you build yourself, you shift your connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu from an analytical level to a practical level. Meaning now, every action you do, you start seeing Hashem. It's no longer an intellectual connection that needs to be analytical. Right? It's bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu from a level of neshama to a level of nefesh. And this is what it means. Be'ahad anak mitzaveronayich. So be'ahad monologue is talking. It says instead of having to being impacted and uplifted by the awesomeness of Hashem in nature from one eye and from the other eye within the nefesh, focus on the nefesh. Focus on the koach hamitorer, on the instinct. See how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is within you, inside your instinct. He lives within your instinct. How does he live within your instinct? By guiding your instinct. While the Torah starts becoming an influencer within you, and now your instinct is starting to change in good according to what you're learning in the Torah, it's Hashem living within you on the level of instinct. He says, this is where I want you. This is where I want to reside. This is how we build a connection that stays for long. That's on it from an intellectual level. Yes, we usually the connection is from the sechel ayuni, right? From the analytical level, intellect. No, I want to reside, and now I reside in the practical level. The practical level of intellect is what? Things that are, okay, how do I move? How do I go? How do I cut a piece of wood? How do I put a Lego together? How do I drive? All these are practical intellect. This is where Hashem wants to reside. This is where he becomes one. This is the definition of achoti, of becoming equal with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, allowing HaKadosh Baruch Hu to stay one with us at such a level. It's incredible. It's incredible. And then he says, Pasuk Yud. We can do Pasuk Yud. Ma yafud odayich achoti kala. He says another tremendous impact that makes it ma yafud odayich achoti kala, that makes you achoti, that makes you my sister, and makes you so beautiful and so beloved, is that, and as long as you're a prophet, as long as you keep the spiritual connection on a spiritual level, so it's Hashem talking to you, right? The connection goes from up to down. You can be ready for it to become a prophet, but that doesn't mean Hashem will speak to you, right? We spoke about it. Hashem chooses the prophet. You have to work to be a vessel, but Hashem decides to come down and speak to you, right? However, Shlomo HaMelech was able to bring down this connection to such a level of instinct and practical intellect. Now it's no longer going from up to down. Now it's going down to up. It's me that's impacting my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's me that's choosing to connect to Hashem. This is the tremendous upside we gain when we allow the Torah to infuse on an instinctive level, to infuse on a practical level. And this is what triggers a tremendous love from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is what makes HaKadosh Baruch Hu feel achoti, like he's a sister. And this is the love. Matovu dodair. Now he's saying midat ahava gdola mimadrigat hasagat hanevuah. It's an itlavut hanefesh. The tov is being felt. You know when something's good, you feel it, right? When it's good, your entire body, it gets uplifted. You get energized. There's this stamina, right? This adrenaline that kicks into your entire body. Says the Malbim, this is matovudodaich miyain. He says, it's not an outside influence that comes and just blows in my face and gives me a nice breeze like the nevuah would do, right? An impact that comes on me and wow, it's beautiful. No, like the yain. You drink yain, it comes, it influences you, and boom, it dies, it fades away. He says this connection on an instinctive level and practical intellectual level, matovu, it's an adrenaline that lives within you. It's a love that you carry all the time. It's not an outside impact like the yain. It's better than the yain. The yain comes, uplifts, and disappears. No, matovu dodayich yain. This connection is much greater than yain. Ve'reach shemanayich mikol besamim. He's saying, kol besamim is represents the ruach. The bosam is the smell. He says, this is ruach hakodesh. This is the nevuah. All the different levels of nevuah, of prophetic messages. Say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I rather have this connection with you than choosing you as a prophet. And this is what Chachamim mean. Chacham adif min navi. A Chacham is better than a prophet. Why? Because the Chacham has the ability to live this experience every second with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He doesn't need the message. He doesn't need it. Because he lives the experience. But this we can only do if we're able to bring that connection to such a low level within us, to such a deep connection to us. And I think that if we look at the berachot, if we look at the berachot, Birkat Torah, I think we spoke about it in Kohelet, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, in the berachot, in the Birkat Torah, we say the following. V'ha'arevna, right? Make it sweet to us. Hashem Elokeinu divrei Toratecha befinu, your Torah in our mouth. ובפיפיות עמך בית ישראל, in the mouth of all עם ישראל, ונהיה אנחנו בית ישראל, we should be us, our descendants, the descendants of our descendants, כולנו יודעי שמך, we should all be know your name, ולומדי תורתך לשמה, and learn your Torah לשמה, right? So we should know your name and learn your Torah lishma. The Gaon Mivina asks a question. He says, the order should be the opposite. First, you learn Torah lishma, and then you elevate yourself to get to a level of Yodai Shemecha, of knowing your names. Knowing names, it's like Kabbalah. It's like, how is that possible? It's the other way around. So he answers. He says, no. He says, Nachon. You build. You learn Torah. Etc. All the way until you get to Yodai Shemecha, until you get to connect to the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, but only then starts the avodah, to come back down to learn the Torah lishma. Don't stay all the way up there. Come back down. Bring that connection down to the simplest form of your life. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves. And he says, this is the definition of Kala. This is when we are his bride. This is when we are Achoti, when we are his Achot, our beloved one, his sister. This is how we become equal, Kivyachol, right? With HaKadosh Baruch Hu within us. Is when we allow him to penetrate our own courtyard of emotions, our own practical, basic intellect.
It's really like a love story.
It is, but it's telling us how to get there. It's more than just a love story. It's an intimacy that lives and within you, and that has such a strong impact. It has that this is what triggers the adrenaline to go move forward and learn and grow and continue this journey. This is what gives you the power to push back on what stops you from growing. This is what gives you the clarity of emunah. This is what brings miracles. This is what true love of Hashem is. Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. This is ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. And this is va'ashevotai levavecha. When we say Shema, yeah, we spoke about, okay, I want to understand Shema. ואהבת את השם אלוקיך בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. Right? והיו הדברים האלה. This is ואהבת. Practical definition of ואהבת. טוב, בעזרת השם. So we went all we finished pasuk Yud. We did Chet, Tet, and Yud. We're going to be there. We're going to continue pasuk Yud Aleph next year.
Thank you, Rav.
Have a beautiful day.
You too, and love you. Bye.
Bye.